प्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक् प्राणश्चक्षु श्रोत्रमथो बलमेन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Om. May all my limbs attain strength. May the body, the mind, the sensory and motor organs and the life force become efficient and powerful. All is verily the one without second, blissful, eternal, absolute existence itself. Let me never deny this truth. May this truth never reject me either. I am aware that the experience of this truth requires many virtues to be acquired, as mentioned by Upanishads. May these virtues be ever with me. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Let us feel the all-pervading, divine, blissful existence, the Brahman, as our very reality, the existence itself. Let us feel it in our heart, in the form of a steadily burning candle flame. Let us feel its light has pervaded my whole personality. I have become light. All my limbs are made of this one material, the light. That same light has filled the whole universe, pervaded the whole universe. All differences, distinctions, separations are dissolved in this ocean of blissful luminosity. All this is emanating by my true, eternal, luminous self. I am that. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Something seems to be happening there up. Okay. So we have been studying the story of Dhruva in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, a great text full of devotion, knowledge, all the Vedantic glory, as it were, is presented in a very delightful manner in this great treatise. It's a joy to study this. It is a very instructive text, very educative and uplifting. At the same time, it has been made very interesting because of the format of stories. So, Let us begin at the beginning. Let us chant this opening hymn. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditarataschaर्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. That from whom creation, sustenance and dissolution of the universe take place, who is both the instrumental and material cause of it, who is omniscient, is the only one having self-mastery, being the one independent entity, who illumined the mind of Brahma with the Vedic revelation, whose wisdom is the wonder of the greatest sages, in whom the world of three gunas subsists, just as the combination of materials, fire, water and earth subsist in their causes without changing their elemental nature, in whose consciousness there is nothing false. On that truth supreme we meditate. Again, let us pay attention to this word. The truth supreme means it never becomes false. There is nothing false in it. In the world, we have what is called relative truth. In a context, for some time, it is truth. Beyond that, it is not truth. For some person it is true, for some other person it is not true. So that is the relative truth. But in this supreme truth, there is nothing false. Means it is always truth. To give you an analogy that you may think as it happens and with the cataract in the eyes, that, oh, this person is this. And you may call that person by the name, hey Jack, and the person doesn't turn. Then you go closer, again call, Jack. The person looks, what is this? And then you realize, this fellow is not Jack, he is somebody else that I don't know. And then you beg excuse that it was a mistake, sorry. So this, what you thought to be true, turned out to be not true. But what you saw was existence, that is true. Whether that existence is named as Jack or Jill, we don't have to worry about that. That can be true or false, but that is existence is beyond dispute. So that truth which always persists and which matters, because holding on to that we get liberated. That is the source of all what is called relative truth. If these two were independent entities, absolute truth and relative truth, you had the choice that, okay, let me hold on only to relative truth. But that choice is not there. Even for holding on to relative truth, you have to hold on to the absolute truth. The other way it need not be. You can hold on to the absolute truth without holding to the relative truth in certain situations, certain stages, like the stage of, say, samadhi. You are not seeing any relative truths there. You are not seeing names and forms. But you still are experiencing the absolute existence, absolute bliss. So that is constant. That is how the sages see, that, for example, I would see that, well, this is Juhi. But then a sage would see that this is God appearing in the form of Juhi. This is the God appearing in the form, say, of a mosquito. This is the God appearing in the form of a cow, and this person and that person, so-called noble person and so-called evil person. All that is God appearing as these different forms. That is the perception of a saint, and that molds the life also accordingly. And there is no permanent hatred or aversion or attachment, anything, because that is in essence God. The famous or well-known example in this class is that animal crackers. You may not like, say, a giraffe, but as a cracker, well, it is not giraffe that you are eating. You can have it without actually eating giraffe or whatever. You can remain vegetarian. So it is that absolute truth is that remains same, and all that we seek in life, it depends on realizing that as our true nature. All spiritual practice is done for this purpose, to experience that as the truth here that takes us beyond the relative pleasures and pains, coming and going, life and death. All then are just manifestations that really does not touch my true nature. And we were seeing this in the story of Dhruva, that while intellectually understanding it is not that difficult, realizing it is also not difficult, but a process that has to be gone through. It is not as difficult as one thinks. We saw the case of Dhruva, and many questions came up after that story was discussed. Some felt the sense of, depression, that even in spite of so much austerities and doing so many devotional practices sincerely, still Dhruva could not seek liberation when there was the time to seek. When the God blessed him and then said that, well, I know what is in your mind and I will grant you that boon. And Dhruva asked that, well, although you are everything, it behooves you to protect the weak. So he was seeking some kind of protection, thinking of that incident when he was, because of his weakness, he was subjected to a big insult while a small child, and that trauma remained. It is said in psychology, something happened in the childhood can continue as a trauma, and a person gets bothered by that. So throughout the life it is difficult to wipe it out, as some people say. Yeah. So that went deep into Dhruva's psyche, as we see in this slide, that our conscious level of mind is just like very small, although the example of an iceberg is given 10%, 90%, but my thought is that the conscious mind in most people is about 1%. 99% is subconscious. Those who practice meditation, their percentage increases. More and more part of the mind comes on the conscious plane. So it is, and thus they can control it better. If it is unconscious, what are you going to control? What Juhi? If it is unconscious, can you control? No, only on the conscious plane one can exert some control. So it is thus in the subconscious there are all these various impressions that have gone deep. When you have, say, anger, now you angrily say something to you fellow liar, and blurt out a few not so very good words. Well, that vibration is, in a way, seems to have gone. But it goes into deep into subconscious, and then makes a house for itself there, and difficult for penetration. Like some, some germs, something, they go deep, they are not seen in surface, but they form a cyst, and they go there. Somebody had told me, one doctor, that why this amoebic dysentery doesn't completely go away easily is because that amoeba forms a cyst around it, and so it doesn't get affected by medication. When there is a congenial situation, it comes up. So these feelings like that go deep. We are not aware of them, but they are lurking there. And when Dhruva could have just said at that time, give me this ultimate liberation, Lord, I don't seek anything, I want just you alone, but could not seek that. That doesn't mean that he doesn't get liberation. And gradually he will get, at appropriate time he will get. There is a process that has to be followed. Holy Mother gave a very nice example, that if you wind a thread, say a long thread, and you wind it around a wheel, and then suppose there are 6, 7 different colors to that thread, and first say you wind the white one, then the yellow one followed, then the red one, then the blue one, and so forth. And it is now you make a nice reel of it. Now when you are unwinding it, the whole thing will come out in opposite sequence. There will be sequence. So in our mind also so many different things are there, and they will also come out. in a particular sequence. Don't think this analogy, it is an analogy. So, because a question would come, how do I know what sequence is there? No, we won't know, and don't worry, why do we don't know. So, that is not important. The point is this cleaning the mind is a spiritual practice, and that everybody has to undergo, and it is an evolutionary process. And it is sometimes one feels while climbing, say, on a high peak like Everest, and you somehow panting, oh, I'm feeling cold and all that, you somehow reach the base camp. Then you feel, wow, I have done great, I am there now. No, you are not there. You are just at the base camp. Real climb is still to go. It is very difficult. You feel that, you have made lot of progress. Yes, one has made some progress, no doubt. Could be a lot, but then a lot remains to be done. It is not meant to dishearten anybody. I felt so disheartened when myself and two other Swamis, we started climbing Tunganath. We kept our things at a place there. It was a tea and snack stall. And that man told, yes, you can go. And then I will be keeping place for you to sleep at night, don't worry. We told, no. It is only just 3 kilometers climb, so it is just about 10 o'clock, and then we will go and come back, and then there is a bus we know at about 5 o'clock. We will take that bus and proceed to Badrinath. He said, well, if you can do that, wonderful, but don't worry, it is very likely that you will not be able to do that, because he was experienced guy, and the climb was so steep, and we began with great enthusiasm. Still that incident is quite fresh in my memory. And after walking the road here, there is no road, just some kind of a walking trail and track. You go on that, and then hope. So it is, although it was my much younger days, now I may not be able to even think of going there, but yeah, I was in my 30s then. So walking as fast and as enthusiastically, but still after about 15 minutes of walk, I felt tired. We also all felt tired, and then thought of taking a little stop, catch the breath and move. It was a really steep climb. We were warned beforehand by other Swamis that it is the tallest peak in that region. So it is, and the climb is very steep. So, but we thought only 3 kilometers, what is it? We just walked that the previous day, we walked about 25 to 30 kilometers, and this won't be a problem at all. So we went on walking, climbing. After 1 hour, we thought that, well, we must have covered more than half. And then I saw that stone where they write, that Tunganath, 2.5 kilometers. Oh my goodness! After 1 hour of this strenuous climb, we covered only half kilometer. Oh, that was very depressing moment, that only half kilometer. But And then we continued, well, the facts have to be faced, So we continued, again taking break, very tiresome. As we progressed, the climb started becoming steeper and steeper. And then already when we reached there, it was already 5 o'clock. Imagine, So, in fact, it was after we did, we still had to go and visit the temples and pray. It was already getting dark. So, we went, did all those prayers and came back. It was way past, the bus had left from there. So, and that man was right. He said, I know that usually they don't realize, the pilgrims don't realize how bad it is. So, but we know. So I had kept all these beds and all ready for you, don't worry. So what I mean is that one feels that how much spiritual practice I did, but it has to be seen in relation to how much purity has been achieved in life. If one keeps on progressing like that, yes, gradually things will come out, but how long it will take, this Dhruva's story is a lesson that do not worry about how long it is going to take. Continue practicing. There is that story that Swami Vivekananda narrates in Raj Yoga, that a man saw that sage Narada. Narada was, he asked, where are you going? Well, I am just going to Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. Okay, I am doing this spiritual practice here. Please ask him, I am doing this practice, lot of, he had all this matted hair and the body has become all emaciated due to practice fastings and all that. I have been intensely doing this spiritual practice for last 40 years. So ask Lord Vishnu that how long will I have to wait till God realization. Another person, Narada, on the way saw and then he also asked the same question. He was not seen doing any very serious spiritual practice, but he was taking the name of God. So Narada then on his return journey came to the first man first, and then hi, did you ask Vishnu? Yes. What did he say? He said that you require still 4 more births to go through. I have been practicing disciplines for last 40 years. Look at my body. I have been fasting and praying and all these things, and still 4 more births I have to go through. That fellow became so depressed, he decided to give up all spiritual practice, because 4 more births now, the patience was stretched too thin already. So it was too much for him to hear this. And then Narada saw the other devotee. He was under a tamarind tree. Tamarind tree is big and is all full of small leaves, tamarind leaves. They are very small, and still it is so thick, this that leaves, vegetation is so thick, it casts such a nice deep shadow under it. So this man was practicing under that tree, and then he asked Narada, hey, what is the news about me? Did you ask? He said, yeah, I asked about you to Vishnu. Vishnu told me that the tamarind tree under which this person is doing spiritual practice, he will require to take as many birds as the number of tamarind tree, the leaves are there, you know. Those leaves, as many of those leaves are, he will have to spend those many birds before he gets liberated. And this man became very joyous. Hey, so Lord has assured my liberation. Just a little wait, that's all. But it is assured, you know, that after these many births I will get liberated. He became more enthused. So we should feel that surely there is liberation for everyone, for us. So Dhruva was told by Lord that I understand your mind, that it is Lord sees the subconscious mind. It is all clear to him. So in spite of the unprecedented practice of austerities and devotion, Dhruva actually did not ask for liberation. And Lord told him, well, you will get this stage of Dhruva, that pole star. And knowing this, and ultimately you will get liberation too. So Dhruva then went back to his kingdom. So, and the situation in the kingdom had completely changed. The king felt very sorry for what happened to on that day, and even that other queen felt very sad for her behavior. People do wrong things, but then when the conscience pricks them, they feel very sad. I shouldn't have done like this. So she also felt very sad, and her son Uttama, he also understood gradually the greatness of Dhruva. And so when Dhruva was coming there, they all welcome him, that it is that he was accorded a great welcome by everyone there. The whole kingdom was decorated, and all festivities were arranged to receive Dhruva, and he came there, and then he was put in a very nice palace and all that. And then as the time went on, you know, that his father Uttanapada saw that Dhruva has become now very eligible. He has learned all the skills of running a kingdom, has acquired the proficiency in warfare. All that he saw that Dhruva has got, and through the counsel of his ministers and in general of the public and family members, he decided that Dhruva should now ascend to the throne, and he would go and retire in the forest and spend his time in praying and for realization of the self. So that is how he did. Dhruva became now the enthroned king, and he did take care of the subjects very well. But what happened one day, that his stepbrother Uttama, he went on a hunting expedition deep in Himalayas, and there he got into a region that was controlled by these celestial supernatural beings called Guhyakas. So it is a name, they are like, they beings with lot of powers over certain regions, and then Guhyakas saw that he is an intruder, and one of them killed him. Then his mother Suruchi, she went into the search of her son, but then died in the forest. Knowing this, Dhruva became tremendously agitated and angry, and he attacked this region of Guhyakas and started attack them, and the war ensued. A big war. Sometimes the scales tilted in favor of Dhruva, at some other time in the favor of Guhyakas. And so what happened was, then Dhruva found it very difficult to continue in this way. He was going to be defeated, and so he brought out a very powerful weapon, the ultimate weapon, the Narayana Astra, which would kill wantonly. It was so powerful, like an atom bomb, So you may have enmity with one, but you may annihilate the cities, the whole state would get annihilated. So he unleashed that weapon. So naturally, it all became, so many of them were getting killed again, and that in that battle, nobody was getting spared. And so Dhruva's grandfather, Swayambhuva Manu, he came there and said to Dhruva that it is, and that is his advice to Dhruva, that what are you doing? Are you aware what an injustice you are doing? That it is one person has killed your brother, and then you are punishing this whole population for that. Is it justified? You are acting very cruelly in an unjust way. Do you not realize? Think about what you did earlier. All that prayers to Lord, think of that. Did you not know that it is through the God's power that everything runs? So he says, you have this sinful tendency. When anger wails up, you think that it is terrible, this fellow should be eliminated, killed. The fault might be very small. That is why there is the justice system. If it is left to individuals, then the one who has power would do whatever. Even because the anger is such a thing, that if somebody steals some money from me, my anger would say, well, this fellow deserves a capital punishment. Because my $5 he had dared to steal, because of the anger, all the proportions are all lost, all logic, reason is gone. It happens with the anger. It is, anger is such a thing. So, krodhat bhavati sammoha, Bhagavad Gita says, because of the anger you forget what is right, what is not right, what should be done, what should not be done. Anger takes over and you become reckless, rash actions ensue. So, Swayambhu Mano, his grandfather of Dhruva, started scolding Dhruva for this kind of a reckless behavior. Do you want, can you just for some reason, small reason, you can throw an atom bomb? Do you know what this weapon can do? It is, therefore, there is so much restraint about the atomic power. Only once in the history of humanity it has been used, and that was a terribly rash action against all wise advice, against the wise advice of the scientist, the then President of United States, that threw these atomic weapons on Japanese. The state was at war, but see how a big devastation it produced. So, and then there is now restraint, do not put this, but the point is that when the anger wells up, all the reason goes away. When there is some country is at war, then you forget everything that good that there could be. Yes, there was a time in 1950s, 60s, when in United States the idea was there can't be anything good about Russia. Russians cannot have anything good. Made in Japan was considered a big curse, on anything. Made in Japan means useless, very substandard. Soon that perception changed, but that is how. About China, yes, all that is bad is from China. We should not paint things in such a broad brush, you say. What makes us do that? It is the anger, that I don't trust somebody with a tilted nose like that. I cannot trust that person. Now what that nose might have some shape like that, that doesn't mean that the fellow has to be bad. But our preconceived ideas and anger, because somebody with that kind of nose might have done some wrong to me, and then, that's it. The whole class becomes subject of the anger. There is no thought involved. As the anger comes, it is the worst enemy, therefore, that kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavaha. That is in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is told that to Arjuna, know that this lust and anger, it is one thing appearing as two. That is your terrible enemy. Most terrible enemy is that vidhi enam iha vairinam. Know that it is your enemy. So, thus that Dhruva was told, think of it. And then, yes, as it happened, Dhruva started thinking about it. A sincere person. So, he understood his mistake. And this Swayambhu Manu said, dear one, for the sorrow caused by you, by the slaughter of your brother by some one person, you are indulging in the indiscriminate slaughter of such a large number of people who are quite innocent of it. So, it is not the way of the devotees of God to be cruel to living beings, mistaking the inert body for the Atman. Now that Swayambhuva Manu brings the devotional and spiritual understanding. First part was just see the common logic, common jurisprudence. Does it fit that it is you are killing just because you were saddened and you are angry to kill so many people for your brother was killed by somebody? Is it worth punishing so many people by death like that? So, first thing is to that arousal of some common sense at least. Then the devotion, that look, is it not that the Lord resides in all beings, and being cruel to anybody, that is not the way of the devotees of God. Who are you? Remember that devotion now was that Dhruva had completely, forgotten, pushed away, had gone somewhere in the attic. So, not being much useful, so he things that we don't use much, so they find a place somewhere in attic. So all the devotion had gone into attic, but it was there. The point is, it was there. So now it was brought to the fore. And he continues that how did you happen to commit this sinful act? Are you not ashamed? Think about you. Are you this? Are you this fellow who can commit such sinful act? And then that makes you realize that, well, no, I am not this. I can do much better. So it is the Lord who has assumed all these forms is most pleased with persons who are forbearing, merciful, friendly to all, and possessed of same-sightedness. If the Lord is pleased with a person, he is released from the bondage of Prakriti, this divine power that binds everybody, so and its effects. So you will be released if you understand this principle. That is what it means is that you have not yet got there. So he gets released from the hold of the subtle body and attains to the infinite bliss of Brahman. And so he continues to that because of this Maya, the Lord who always remains the same without growth or decay, subjects to these two processes all beings who are laboring under their own karma. This is your own karma, and so you have come to get this all as the result of karma. That is how your brother also got slain. So do not get angry with the person who seems to be the immediate effect. Do you start a quarrel with the mailman who brought you a big bill that you thought is not right? The mailman has nothing to do with it, whether it contained your big check or a big bill, that bill. He didn't care, he just was the giver. So people bring something to us. They are not the cause of that. It is our own actions that have brought it to us. That person was only a deliverer. Do you get it, Yona? Yeah, it is that person is only is delivering what we deserved. So thus he got all this scolding means not just scolding as such, but chastisement. That is a very nice English word. So Dhruva's devotion thus got awakened. It is a very beautiful discussion here, long discussion, but I am not going through all that. Those who are interested should read it in original. I am just giving some hints about it, that a few lines I am telling. And so he was told that, "O dear one, He, the Lord, is both death and immortality. Take refuge in Him, the refuge of all world, with your entire being, all including the Creator Brahma, and are laboring for Him, like the cattle controlled by their nose string." We sometimes sing that song here by Vivekananda, "No one but me to blame." Things happen, but there is when we look at it, who is to be blamed? Well, no one but me to blame. Now, Dhruva understands this, and after listening to this, he tells the leader or that controller of these Guhyakas with whom he was fighting, that, "Oh, please forgive me, I am sorry for all this killing." It takes heart, to say sorry, especially when you are kind of in the winning way. You have killed so many people of them, then the tendency would be, they deserve this. But his grandfather alerted him that, well, this will bring a big downfall for your spiritual life, your actual life, because all these things come back to you. So remember this. And so he sought this kind of truce, and then he stopped the war. He immediately stopped the war, returned to his kingdom, and ruled with calm benevolence. He came out a very changed person, ruled the kingdom, and as these storybooks go, Puranas, that how long did he rule like that? Performing all the laudable acts of sacrifice for the welfare of the citizens for merely 6,000 years, a short time. So it is, the time scales are different. We were reading every evening that reading from Bhuteshananji's book. There he told, look, that there was a sage Markandeya. So Markandeya lived for whole one cycle of creation, which according to that calculation comes to about 9 billion years, 9 billion human years. So Markandeya lived that long. The whole cycle, the birth of right from Big Bang to the dissolution into singularity, the whole cycle he lived. But he thought that for such a short time, why should I build a house for myself? For this short time, it doesn't make sense, I am living only this short time. So he did not build a house for himself. It is useless to build a house for this short length of time. So the time is just a measure, as for a tiny bacteria, the whole time cycle of like our 1 second will be their whole one life. So their birth, their all that growth, progeny, everything, and death, all this happened in what we call 1 second. So it is just matter of our perception. So this is thus, but what happened is, then he installed his son to the throne and surrendered himself to God. As his mind got completely cleansed, he merged into God. Then there is he got into samadhi. Then in the Vaishnava scriptures there are different types of samadhis mentioned, like salokya. Means like you go to the, what Christians would say, go to the heaven, live there with God, living in the same region like God. Like God is living in, say, Rhode Island, a small state. So you also live in that small state. So you often meet God on different errands. You are both together one day in a grocery store or whatever. I mean, you live in the same region where God lives. So it is like that called Salokya Mukti, same loka, that you and God are there. Then you live close to God. Well, myself as well as governor of Rhode Island, they live in the same state. That is one thing. But oh, he is my next door neighbor, you know. God is just next door neighbor. We say hi to each other every day, you know. So that is called Samipya Mukti. The liberation by not being in the same region, but close to each other. We meet on a daily basis. Yeah. So, yeah, the other day he gave me a ride back to home and all that, you know. So, it is, God becomes now very close. The idea is, in all these samadhis, the main thing for a spiritual aspirant to know is that God is very real now. That it is not an idea to be, you know, think about, but God is there. And then there is that Sayujya Mukti, and so it is you completely become united, one with God. So it is, this was described in great details here, but we shall just see and then we will see that what Dhruva's further progeny did. There were descendants of Dhruva. How the things continued. We shall briefly take a look at that, and that's about it. Today's class we will end here. We shall continue this from next Friday, the next thing. Nigam kalpatarur galitam phalam shukamukhadamritadrava sanyutam पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुर्हो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. Any comments, questions? Oh, you have one, Charlie.
Yeah, I thought Dhruva became the pole star. How did he do that and then go back to the kingdom?
Well, that is how it is, you know, that he became the pole star afterwards. So the God made him the pole star, and then he merged into God. Yeah, that is the idea there. Yeah. So that is the closeness with God. Okay. Because that was one of the pain in him, that he was made to leave the spot that he was occupying. Okay, so now you will have the spot that nobody will push you away from. So he was made pole star. But that was again a transitory thing. So that also then he became merged with the God, yeah, in samadhi, yeah. Any questions? Is it?
Yes, there are 3 web questions.
Okay.
First question is from Kedar Damle. Is the God who speaks to Dhruva within Dhruva himself, or is he some entirely different being?
Oh, well, a very good question, that God, when you realize that God as my reality, that is one thing. But otherwise, we feel God and I as separate things. And then you speak to God. There is the objectification of the feeling of God, because this is how ordinarily our awareness is, that of subject and object. Even something that is within, we objectify it. We say there is a tumor in me. Now it is in me means it is not I, but it is objectified, oh, there is that problem in me. So it is like that gets objectified. And then when you objectify it, you give it a form, a shape, and interact with it. So that is that divine expression that is mentioned there, Kedar.
Second question is from D.L. Muthukrishnan Ramachandra. Was Lord Krishna's cheating and deceit justified in defeating Kauravas in the Mahabharata?
Well, it is at a different level it is justified. It was the Lord's cheating. He has explained it in Mahabharata, that why he did it. There is a history to it, that those whom he like the cheating apparent, for killing Bhishma, killing Drona, that was all told by themselves, that this is the way you can kill us. We are on the wrong side, on the side of Kauravas, and because of our tremendous skill in warfare, there is nobody on the earth who will be able to kill us or defeat us. Only way is by doing this. So they themselves have told Krishna about it. Then about the Karna, there is this, Karna had this curse. He cheated to get that weapon, and so it was not going to stop, going to be effective. And then only thing that Lord did there was a strategy, not really cheating at all. That day he made Karna fight with so many others and made him tired before bringing him in confrontation with Arjuna. And then when Karna's that wheel got into the earth, he was saying, oh, well, don't, this is not the right thing to do. And then Krishna reminded him that think of all those unlawful and cheating things that you did, and so it is not at all wrong to kill you by these means. It is not at all. Where did your all that righteousness had gone when you were doing all these bad things? So like that it was, Krishna did it. And in therefore Krishna's truthfulness and this complete sense of justice was very, very powerful. It is, he mentions it at the time, when that ultimate weapon, Brahmastra, was fired or directed by Ashwatthama at the fetus of Abhimanyu's his wife Uttara. Krishna was pleaded by that, oh please protect. And he said, okay, if I had not swerved from the path of justice in my whole life, had I never told untruth in my life, and so many things he says there, then this fetus will not get affected by this Brahmastra. He was telling with such confidence that yes, he did not swerve from the path of justice. Every situation, there is this, as I mentioned in the beginning, there is this sense of relative truth. So it is even those who were inimical to Krishna, like the Kauravas in that Mahabharata, at some point or other they have glorified Krishna as the support of all righteousness or dharma. So it is certainly there is the justification in that. Yeah.
Third question is from Suchita Gule. Should a spiritual person not react in any way if somebody has decided to fight with them or torture them?
Well, it is an eternal question that comes up, depends on your awareness. When Swami Vivekananda was asked this question, he said, well, don't react. And then he said, I am telling it for the monks. It is for the monastics who has given up all attachments. They should not angrily react to any such excuse for it. But for the others, it is a different situation. Their awareness is not, for with them what will happen is that it will get into subconscious. And then the anger will manifest in worse ways. It is so, therefore they should react, but they also should take care that in the process they are not unleashing another wave of injustice. And it is, anger should be avoided. You can respond to the evil being meted to you in the proper measure without getting angry. Protect yourself. That's Sri Ramakrishna's story of hiss, but don't bite. That's advice given to the snake. So it is hiss to keep, to protect yourself, but don't bite. And don't get angry. Because anger hurts yourself. Anger does not hurt as much your enemies as it hurts us. So therefore, without getting angry, if you can do, that is great, but that doesn't happen, because we feel first angry and then respond. What Krishna told Arjuna, you fight the war, yudhyasva, fight the war, vigata jvaraha, without getting charged up with anger. No, that is not the right thing. So therefore, respond in a judicious way. Respond that to, even if you are really thinking of that, even one must respond to what bad or evil things I have done to others. Do we take the same view when I do something wrong to others? Think about that. If I am taking the same view about my doing bad to others, then alone I have right to say that yes, that fellow did bad to me, did wrong to me. Yes. Have you done bad to somebody? How your view was about it? So therefore, to treat that without anger is important. In a very judicious way, respond with proper measure and all that. Yeah, do not do anything in anger. That is what the scriptural advice is. Thank you very much.
There is one last question.
Yes, okay.
Jyoti Champanekar.
Yes.
Pranam Swamiji.
Pranam.
How can we stop negative emotions from going into subconscious whenever they occur?
Well, therefore the way is to eliminate them at the conscious level as far as possible. It is important to do that through meditation, through prayers. That is the way it can be done. Otherwise, they do get into subconscious, and even the subconscious, as I mentioned in my previous talk, when similar question was raised, that by meditation you can bring more and more part of your subconscious at the conscious level. So whatever is hidden, you can see there. That is the way that you can reduce your subconscious level, increase your conscious level through meditation. So that is the way to deal with it. Yes, here there is one question. Hey, actually, okay, quick. This Abhijit.
No, a devotee wants to see God, and Thakur says that even God is infinite, that if you touch Ganga in one place, you have touched Ganga. So,
yes.
So he validated seeing God as having entirety of God by just his vision. But here we see Dhruva. It was, what's the difference then between a vision of God and realizing God?
Well, that it is vision of God, Dhruva. See, in that way, if you see what you are seeing, what I am seeing, what everybody is seeing, there is nothing but God, so we are having vision of God. But we are not aware of that Godhood. So, when Dhruva had the vision of God, it was tainted with that. That is why he could ask, that, oh, protect us. Means not the God that is the source of everything, that is all pervading, but a particular aspect of the divine. And so he got that. What you pray, it comes to you as that is, So that is what in Bhagavad Gita Lord says, that as the devotees pray to me, I respond to them in the same way. All are not ready for the ultimate realization of God. Even given, they won't take it, because that will they hamper their attachments and the sense of those limited pleasures that they seek. So our idea of pleasure, pain, friends and foes, it blocks the way for God realization as God is. We see the God that will fulfill my desires. So when all the desires are gone, then we see the God as He is, whether you see it in one spot or in millions of spots. You are seeing the same God. Like Sri Ramakrishna is seeing a prostitute as God. Now it is that Sri Ramakrishna could see everywhere that divine expression. Now somebody would see it in one thing, and then that is great, as good, if that realization is of that type. Seeing God or realizing God, both are same thing, but realizing an aspect according to one's desire means that aspect is fulfilling that desire. So that is not liberation though. That is the difference. Yeah. So let us conclude with the closing chant. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bol, Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bol, Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol. Krishna Krishna Bol, Krishna Krishna Bol. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bol, Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol. One of our friends has started a very good this thing to distribute the winter clothes to the homeless people around. So even if those clothes are kind of torn or not so good, you can give it. We have he is collecting from several places, so you can give it here also. A box will be kept here, and then you can put it in that box, and sometimes he will come, collect it. He is a very genuine person. He will wash those, clean those, and give to the rightful people. Thank you.